I recently saw a billboard that said, choose wisely, choose not to drink and drive. So whose fault is it, the drunk driver? Well, we are merely chemistry and conditioning. We are nature running off. So no one is choosing to drink and drive. They are merely reacting off their chemistry and conditioning. They're making the only choice they could ever possibly make based off their chemistry and conditioning. No one's choosing to do anything. If we think we're somebody, then we think people are making a choice. So when we're judging people based off thinking they think they're in control and we think we're in control. But there is no control. Control only exists in the thinking mind. So what about drunk drivers? Drunk drivers are created on purpose, just like all the chaos in this world. They create, what do you mean they create drunk drivers? Through the toxic food program in the prison society. Like I spoke about in my previous video, who are they, or the controllers? They use food to suppress us physically and consciously, and to keep us in lower limiting perspectives, making us easier to control and creating a self-limiting, self-destructive population. This is who they, the beings that are controlling humanity, and using us as energetic slaves. This is what they're doing. So drunk driver is just a part of this program we're in. It's created on purpose as just one of the cogs in the chaos machine to keep us stimulated, because chaos stimulates. Remember, we are in a sea of stimulation, aggravation, and information, and they need to constantly stimulate us in every conceivable way. Through entertainment, through food, through chaos, through fear, right? This is stimulation, which is going to keep us thinking, which is going to keep us attached to the somebody, the ego, right? Thinking we're somebody doing something. So drunk drivers are created through their chemistry and their conditioning. Their chemistry is destroyed because we are programmed to eat destructive foods that destroy our chemistry and our balance. And then through our conditioning, we are conditioned to deal with imbalances in the chemistry through things like drinking. So when you drink, that's just your conditioning. When you drink and drive, that's your conditioning, your chemistry and conditioning. No one's in control. No one's making a decision. There is no control. Control only exists in the thinking mind. All of our suffering assumes control. Stop thinking and end all of your problems. Remember that line? Stay in the center of the circle and allow all things to take their course. Observe. Because to think we're in control, we have to think. So stop thinking and we won't think we're in control. We think people are in control, so we say, you shouldn't do this, but they can only ever make one decision. Like when I drunk and drove and I crashed into a ditch and I got arrested. I use this example quite a bit. Why am I so non-attached to that? Because there's no attachment to be had. You could feel shame or regret or guilt or feel like you've sinned, right? All those things assume, along with all of our suffering, assume control. But there is no control. I was acting the only way I could have ever possibly acted based off my chemistry and my conditioning. My chemistry was depressed, my parathyroid, because of my program in the toxic food program. And my conditioning from all the movies and TV shows and everybody around me had me drink to deal with that. And then you drive. It's all part of your conditioning. You couldn't have done anything else. So I'm not mad. I don't feel guilt or shame or regret or anything about anything I've ever done. You can say in the past, oh man, I really acted like a fool in the past. I wish I didn't do this or do that, or, whatever, take this job, or I was with this person, or whatever it is. That's the only thing you could have ever done. You couldn't have acted or done anything else ever, because whatever happens was always going to happen, because it happens. There is no this or that. There's just what happens. There is no control. So whatever happened in the past was always going to happen, and nothing different could have ever happened based off of our chemistry and our conditioning. Same in the future. There is no control. It's just going to be our chemistry and conditioning. Nature running off. Previous video, a few videos ago about that as well, where nature running off. So all the chaos, all the disease, drunk drivers, all the addicts, these are all created on purpose to help as a part of the stimulation to keep us thinking, and the suppression of our consciousness, and the suppression of us physically and mentally in every way, because that's how they control us. They have to keep us thinking to control us. Because remember, when we're in the center of the circle, we're the observer. We're not thinking. We're detached. We're one with the divine, with God, with our cosmic beloved. We know we don't know. We're the observer, right in the center of the circle. But in the sea of stimulation, aggravation, and information, it has us start thinking. Guess what? We're now easier to control once we think we're somebody doing something. Because when we start thinking, we think we're in control, right? We think we're in control. So as long as we think that we're in control, we're going to be stuck in the cycles of suffering. And we think we know. So anyway, all of these chaotic things, all the violence and everything, it all starts with the toxic food program, because everybody's chemistry is out of balance, and so they react with it with the only conditioning they're given. So how do we change this? How do we fix this world? How do we stop drunk drivers? Well, first of all, we're not doing anything. There's nothing to do but observe. But on another level, again, just observe. But this is how I would explain it, is that we're all getting new conditioning constantly, which changes our chemistry and conditioning. We're not actually doing anything. It's just, remember, the game's over. We're just nature running. We're observing our nature running off. We're observing the new nature affecting our current nature, which is all just one anyway, right? It's just this nature going. And now through me, I've received new conditioning. Now I take this conditioning, I take the deeper understanding that I have been given and the perspective I have been given to now teach others, right? Like, I also, I've been given the ability to present and to make these videos as part of my chemistry and conditioning, right? So that's how we actually change the world and escape. Someone asked me in one of my questions on who are they, how do we get out of this? How do we escape this cycle of suffering, this suppression? Presence and purification. Stop thinking. Because by doing this, we're receiving direct contact with God flowing through us. I'm God's eternal love pouring forth. That is the observer, surrender, complete surrender, presence. And that is going to allow us to now do things like teach and give others new conditioning. So that's how we're changing conditioning, is by basically observing as much as possible, being present as much as possible, and allowing this vessel to be a vessel completely of God, our cosmic beloved. And now we are going to do things like I'm making these videos. I talk about purification so much and fruitarianism so much because food is the #1 suppressor of the human consciousness. It controls planets, which they've done countless times before. You know what I mean? This, to me, it just becomes so obvious, thinking of how vast and how old the universe is and some of these races of beings. Of course, they're going to control a population of a planet. So you're going to use the food system. Why not? Easiest way to do it. And the entertainment programming. And you're just basically molding them for them to do what you want. That's part of the matrix, part of the illusion. But that's what, they're just acting based off their chemistry and conditioning. Whoever they is, right? Whoever you want to view as opposite or negative, which is all just one anyway. So all there ever really is to do after we talk about any of these subjects is be the observer, just to stay present. How do we do that? We have to remove the aggravators, the stimulation and information. That we're born into a sea of stimulation, aggravation, and information, which gets us caught in the cycles of thought, which just has us thinking we're somebody doing something and that things are happening to us, which has us thinking we're in control, which has us thinking we know, which takes us out of the whole, the divine God, and creates separation into the illusion. And now we're stuck in a lower limiting perspective and we're easier to control. And they create addictions and things like drunk drivers. Going back to drunk drivers, it's not their fault. They're basically chemistry and conditioning. They can't do anything else until they receive new conditioning that allows them to not do it. They maybe start changing their chemistry, and then they'll be acting different based off their chemistry and their conditioning. It's just constant. It's a constant cycle. Just remember, my friends, we are nature running off. There is no control. There's nothing to get stuck on in the past or the future. There's no regret or shame or guilt or sin. These are all traps of the illusion that they all assume control. All of our suffering assumes control. So just stop thinking. It's that easy. I am God's eternal love pouring forth. Namaste.